have this consensus of opinion, which seems to be that the phenomena involves time anomalies at the core of the mystery, which I think has merit to it,
It does.
especially when we think that at least the way that we perceive time is very linear. What if when we're able to better tap into these time anomalies, we are better to manipulate time to go into the past, to go into the future, or to jump from point A to point B almost instantaneously? I think that once we are able to receive or understand that technology, it would be an absolute game changer.
Right, but and this is where the conversation gets fascinating, because what if, what if that some of these machines, let's call them UFOs, that maybe we've recovered, what if they're time machines, like we talked about, just as a means and method? That's simply how they work, right? That's how they get from one place to the other, is by bending time and space and essentially being a time machine. And could that be a reason for secrecy? Because you don't want Tom, Dick, and Harry to have a time machine in their garage, unlike, you know, um, the movies would have you suggest. I mean, that could be really, that could be, the damage could be so catastrophic if everyone had that technology. So you got to start wondering, right?
Yes. Yes, you do. But then we can also look at these different projects that have been run by the United States government to highlight that particular country. They've shown an interest in time travel for a little under a century. So if this information or this technology were to come forward, number one, they would already be aware of it. It would already be in their possession and probably in their control as well to better understand it. But on top of that, every single person, intelligent or not, has an interest in time travel. I think we've all at one point in our lives thought, why did I do that? Why did
Oh,
I say that?
yeah.
If only I had a time machine, I would have changed it, right? But then we can bring in this topic of, can you still affect the main timeline? When you jump through time, are you just creating a different reality? Almost a
Branch.
parallel universe, a branch, right? But you're not really affecting your main timeline. So then what's the point of having this technology or using it or even abusing it if it doesn't affect the initial one?
Right. Okay, that's a good. You know what? Fair rebuttal. I accept that, because if it is right, if that is right, and you create a branch universe, that would mean that you really should only be able to observe the past, not
Right.
interfere with it. As a That would be a common law that you would, I don't know, maybe as police somehow, but um, that 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 that'd be interesting. Could, now let's say that we do have the technology, right? Could companies like Lockheed or Northrop Grumman, whatever, whoever, my suspicions kind of land on Lockheed. Do you think that they have gone back in, or at least have dabbled in this reverse engineering to the point where they have successfully time traveled?
It's difficult to speculate, mainly because we don't have that information. But we can look, for instance, at the Montauk Project or the Philadelphia experiment, just to give us a foundation or a basis on how we are timeline wise of showing an interest in this. So that's a possibility. But looking at Lockheed Martin in particular, it's difficult to say. Now, is it a possibility? Sure. I don't see why not. We can also even bring in Robert Bigelow into this because he does have an absolute interest in these kinds of topics and conversations, especially when he created his own conscious institute as well. It would only make sense that himself in particular would have an interest in time travel technology or in ways to tap into the past through consciousness, maybe even through remote viewing as well.
Right. It's another fantastic subject, is remote viewing, because it, it blows my mind. It really does. Uh, the I've been working with the remote viewer, as of recently, and I mean, the guy is just so spot on. It is eerie. But to go back to the other part, but what if deja vu, the Mandela effect, are potentially the evidence for someone messing with the timeline?
Looking at deja vu,
Not
okay,
like
I'll say this, I've never experienced it myself. I
never.
wish no, never. I know, I want to,
Do you,
but I haven't
let me ask
experienced
you
it.
this: Do you have a voice in your head?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay,
I do.
some people actually don't. I
Right.
recently found this out.
Yes, I'm
Um,
aware.
so I that's a crazy fact, by the way. I did not know that not everyone had a voice in their head, like a representation of themselves or
Right.
whatever. But okay, all right. So continue. Sorry.
So with deja vu, I can't speak to it on a personal level just because I haven't experienced it, but I have looked into it, and it is very interesting to see people that tell themselves, "I've been here before." I have a really good friend that tells me this all the time, and I'm like, "Can you not? Can you just?" But I do listen to her because I do have an interest in this. Now, looking at the Mandela effect, that one's kind of a tough one to see if people are manipulating with time just because the nuances are so small. Right now, we're seeing it in logos and how spelling is done. And it's pretty weak. Like it's more of someone that's a troll that is dealing with manipulating time. But what if, and I think maybe this theory might hold maybe a slightly bit more merit, is that what if that parallel timeline that we mentioned a little bit earlier, what if it's merging into ours?
Ooh, like a bleed,
Yes.
like a bleed over.
Yeah, I think that would make more sense for me mentally than saying, "Oh, here's a little 12-year-old troll that's just having a little bit of fun with the time machine."
Right, right. Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. I'm because again, I don't subscribe to anything, or even to knowing anything. I think if if someone is telling you that they have all the answers on this subject, that they don't have any answers, and I hate to bring it up, but there is factionalism in this community. Um, what have been some barriers that you faced in your content creation world, in your podcasting, that you've experienced with this factionalism? There's I hate to say names, but there's the Greer people, there's the Elizondo diehards, and there seems to be this kind of factionalism I can see creeping up. Just wondering what your thoughts are on that, and if you've experienced anything.
Oh, without a doubt. I think everyone has their own opinions and many of them are a bit more strong than others, but I do resonate with you in the sense of I'm on the fence. Like I don't want to take factions. I don't want to take a specific camp. It's where the data and the information leads me. And that is the best thing to do because when you go onto the faith and belief system, you are blind to certain information that you just don't want to see because it doesn't go along with your own narrative or the narrative provided to you by somebody else. There is not a Jesus here. There's no Messiah in this topic. You have to walk that path on your own, and only you can decide is the information that you're looking at, if it's disinformation or not, because we don't actually know. And there's so much murkiness in this topic, it's difficult to decipher what's true and what's not. So all that can lead you is your gut feeling. But listening to someone and saying, "Oh my gosh, everything Ty says is the gospel. I got to listen to him." Right? It's like
That's dangerous.
it's it's a little bit dangerous. That's right. And so I think it's so important, and we when we both do this, it's just make up your own mind. We'll provide the information and then you can decide on your own. I'm not here to tell you one way or another to fight for this team and to punch this team in the face.
Mm.
That's not what we live for. It's not what we do. And that's where this topic can be a bit difficult, is when people are very fired up on a certain person or a certain case, whatever it may be. I do like listening to them, but
Yeah,
I'm not the type to provide to provide my own opinion. I think
yeah,
listening is the best opinion. You have
right.
two ears and one mouth for a reason.
That's a I'm gonna probably use that eventually. But
It's not
I,
mine, so take
I
it.
tell that I say that to my girlfriend all the time. When we watch any documentary, I'll be like, this person, maybe I don't agree with this, but I watch it, I listen to it, I hear what they have to say, and I take what you wade through the BS, and you take any information, and then if that information can corroborate something, then you might be on a pathway to something. It's you sift through it and take what you can, and move forward. I think people do get caught up in kind of wanting a leader, and in this game, in this UFO disclosure event, right? It's going to take all of us running across the finish line together, not just one person, right? Leading a charge. It's going to take the army, and that's my opinion. I mean, I'm not sure how you see it.
I agree. I'm with you. The only way that we're able to succeed and move forward is as a team,
Mm,
is when we do it all together, because all of us have our own expertise, but we don't know everything. But if we were to come together and figure it out, then it's a lot easier to move forward. But many people want to be the first to disclose this, first to provide this information. And it's this mentality of us against them, us in
mm,
the sense of me versus you,
mm,
right? But if we were to come together, it would be a lot easier. I think people would be willing to dedicate more time and attempting to receive or to push for a disclosure from, have it be the government, or for people to be more open to talk about their experiences, to have that stigma removed. All of these different things, if we have this collective mindset of it is okay to talk about this, there really is something to it, and we show that interest, especially when it comes to the mainstream media, as they do have a very big audience, that would be the best way forward. It's not, let me be the first one to release this, that, and the other.
right. And that's where I think everyone's head should be. I really do. And it's I mean, I think that there's positive hope for the future in this topic, because I mean, we look at government, right? Tim Burchett is a friend, has been on the show, and I don't agree with his some of his politics, but you look at the government, and it's a pretty bipartisan topic, and that these days is whew, very few and far between. So I think that is hope right there. There is this thing about the government, though, and someone, like I said, had mentioned it earlier. This thought that even people like Tucker Carlson have mentioned it, that they think this is angels and demons, and that they're scared to go any further with it. Have you heard about this, or you know? Sorry.
Bless you.
Um, have you heard about that aspect of it?
Oh,
That
without a doubt.
a lot of people in government think that this is that their religious beliefs may be getting in the way of actual scientific research and development.
Not only the government, but just your day to day person as well does see the same thing. I've had many people reach out to me, email, DM, comments saying, "Christina, stop researching this topic. It's all demonic." And I'm thinking, what are you talking about, buddy?
People have actually
There's
reached
so
out to
much
you.
to this.
and
Oh
said
my
that?
gosh, yes. And not politicians, okay, but, like, people in general.
People.
I've gotten so many